Hello, this is Dr. Flight. I hope you're doing great today. Thank you for spending time and taking a look at this lecture video. This video will focus on different ways to organize and describe tangible products. So we'll look at different product forms, and then also we'll look at products as they're um, offered in the consumer market and then also in a B2B environment as well. All right, we're going to begin with a brief just definition of what a product is. So a product is anything that delivers value to satisfy a need or want. It can include physical merchandise. It can also include services, though, or events. It may include ideas or organizations and places and people and things of that nature. So if you think about, for instance, tourism, tourism often sells a location or a place. Celebrities and politicians sell people or ideas as well. We may sell information. Those are all, of course, very non-tangible. They're not even located in the service area, oftentimes. Or we can sell, of course, value that's wrapped up in a tangible product that you can hold or you can possess physically. So the way products then are defined is extremely broad and will serve us to think that way, that what we're really selling when we sell a product is a value. It's a solution to somebody's need moving forward. Now, when we think about products and the different complexities of products, and a convenient way to think about them would be involved or would include something called product layers. So when we think about product layers, the way this has been defined in the past is as the inclusion of three different product levels: the core product, the actual product, and the augmented product. The core product is what the basic benefits are of the product that are going to be delivered to the customer. So the basic benefits would suggest the need or the want that the customer has. In this example here, we have the core product in the area of automobiles as being transportation or carrying cargo or some other form of need that the customer has, even ones that are internal, like excitement and image enhancement. So that's the core product. All products within a product category should satisfy this level of need that the customer has. The next layer that extends beyond the core is something called the actual product. The actual product typically involves or includes the physical nature of the product. It can include the features, the packaging, the brand name itself, the quality, its appearance, and so forth. So when you buy a car, you're not only buying the value of transportation, but you're also buying the physical elements that the product has as well, or the car has as well, which may include like the engine and the color of the vehicle and the metal and the plastic and the doors and everything else that's associated with the physical elements that the product has. Many times firms differentiate themselves on these features, and this is what they point to when they're trying to convince a customer to buy their version of the product as opposed to somebody else's. The final layer is the augmented layer. So outside of the core, outside of the actual products, is what we call the augmented product. The augmented product are features of the product that help the customer use the product maybe more efficiently or access it more readily. These elements make it easier for the customer and more pleasurable for the customer to use the product. So these are often services that might be attached to a tangible type of a good. Here listed again in our example of the automobile would be things like warranties, repair work, after purchase services, financing, credit, user manuals, helplines, 1-800, phone services, and things like that. When a product is in the mature stage of its life cycle, and when there's very, very little difference between product offerings in the marketplace, like for instance, a commodity, then firms will very often use augmentations to form points of difference as opposed to actual product features. Okay, so again, if you've got a close competitor and your products are virtually the same, a strategy would be to use product augmentations and services to differentiate yourself from your competition. Okay, so here's a little exercise. We have the core, the actual, and the augmented product. What we can do is think about these three pieces in the context of SIUE, since this is something that we're familiar with a university. So in a university setting, think about the elements that we might have in the core product. People who associate with a university are looking for knowledge. They're looking for credentials and reputation, and they're looking for, the ability to say that they have a degree and be able to use the information or knowledge that they've obtained. The actual product's a little trickier, but it would include things like the physical buildings, the classrooms, the campus, the interaction with the website, the internet, the actual degree or piece of paper that your degree is printed on would be included as well. The augmented products that a university may offer would include a lot of services, again, that help the customers use the product better or make the product more efficient for them. So health services, well-being services, safety, different payment and financial offers and things of that nature, career services. Those are all augmented services that help the student in this case. Actually, it enhances their experience with the core product of knowledge, credentials, and reputation. Okay, so again, this is an illustration of this idea of product layering and how we can compete with our competitors. We can differentiate ourselves from our competitors on the actual level and the augmented level, but probably not on the core level. The core level is base, and it's the basic element that we share with our key competitors. Okay, so this may be new to you, but this is well served in trying to understand how products are composed and indeed how we can use products to differentiate ourselves from our competitors, like we can use the other three P's as well to do so. We can do so with products and product design. The other element here that we'll talk about and spend a little bit of time is the classification process. So it's not uncommon for us to categorize products in a useful way in order to identify competitors, but then also identify markets as well. And so what we'll do is we'll spend a little bit of time just saying a word or two about the primary classifications of consumer goods and business goods. Okay, and here you see an illustration where in consumer goods we have convenient shopping, specialty, and unsought products, and then we have a series of 5 different types of products for businesses as well. So we'll just spend a moment or so just saying 1 or 2 things about each one of these. Okay, on the consumer side then, we have convenience goods. Convenience goods are ones that are frequently purchased. They're very often non-durable products. They're purchased with very minimum time and effort. They are routine types of products that we might see. They would typically not represent a very large cost or price or expense to the overall consumer's budget. Shopping goods, on the other hand, are products that the consumer would spend more time shopping for or spending more time thinking about in the decision-making process. So we would probably be looking at products that are more durable, they last longer, they're ones that are less frequently purchased, and ones that represent a bigger expense relative to the customer's overall budget. So you might have a selection set of 3 or 4 options within a product category, and you take a good amount of time thinking about which products make the most sense for you in a shopping product category. 2 other categories, specialty products and then unsought products, remain. Specialty goods are ones that are very unique in solving a specific customer problem. They are associated with a lack of access or maybe a small or narrow distribution strategy. So you have to look for these. You have to go out and you have to find these. Customers are generally very brand loyal, or there's a loyalty factor. Specialty goods tend to cost more, and merchants or retailers that handle specialty goods will usually have a fairly deep assortment. Instead of a broad assortment, they'll be fairly deep in a product category and be very specialized for this. So if a customer is looking for a specialized good, they'll be willing to travel to find this good. They'll be willing to pay more for it. They'll be probably pretty educated in terms of that product category, and they'll know a lot about the product before they even come to purchase it. The last category that we'll just mention here are unsought products. Unsought products are products that are the least common, and they're ones that customers generally don't realize they need until they need it, or they know they need it, but they need to be heavily persuaded in order to purchase them. So the classic example of this is perhaps an insurance product where somebody knows they should probably have insurance, but they really don't know how much or why, and they really don't want to buy insurance, but it's not something that they're going to seek out naturally because they either don't know they need it or they don't really want to jump in and buy that product. Okay, so yeah, this is on the consumer side, and again, this is just a typology. This helps us better understand the landscape of products from a consumer perspective. Let's shift on over and talk a little bit about business products. And again, there's several different ones here that kind of go together a little bit, but also can be identified independently. So there's equipment that is a category of product. Equipment is the tools that are used for daily operations. So a firm has to either they have to operate in some capacity, whether they're a producer or filling some other form of a supply chain or value chain of some type. But equipment that they use then would be ones that they need in order to produce the value that they're creating. Second category would be MROs, which stands for maintenance, repair, and operating. So we need to be able to keep our equipment in good order. These are things that would help our operating equipment operate. We need to maintain them. We need to repair them. We need to put put service into our operating assets. And when we do that, then we're thinking of MROs. Raw materials, another broad category of products that businesses use. So these would be the inputs that are used in order to transform and create value for whomever is going to be receiving that value, so the customer or another business in a B2B environment. Okay, so raw materials are commodities oftentimes, and they're in some unfinished state, and they need to be transformed in order for form, utility, or value to be realized. All right, so that leaves us with 2 more categories. We have processed materials. and which are produced when processed materials are kind of like raw materials. They would be things like inputs or component parts that are created, which the firm then uses as part of their as part of their value creation process. So, for instance, General Motors builds cars, but they buy the stereo systems already completed, and then they just insert the stereo system into the cars that they're making. So that stereo system is something that's already been processed, it's already been produced. We may also include in this case special services as well, services that are rendered in their completed state for the firm. So a law firm or a lawyer or some outside company that's producing a service for the firm, which the firm then uses as part of their overall value creation. Okay, so these are completed goods or services that may serve as component parts to the firm. Processed materials. The last part is component parts. So component parts are manufactured goods or sub-assemblies. So I guess I had that a little bit preemptively when I spoke earlier of the processed materials that gets transformed. We actually have the second category then of component parts. So these go together a bit, or sub-assemblies that are finished. If you can think about like lumber, being a raw material, if lumber is cut into pieces and planked, then that would be a processed material, and then that processed material goes into the good that the firm is producing. So that might be a better example of a processed material. Think of lumber that has already been cut and maybe planked, and then a building company takes that lumber and builds a house with it. So the building company doesn't have to take a raw piece of lumber and mill it themselves. It's already been milled for them. That would be a better example of a processed material. So I misspoke there a little bit and kind of interjected component parts in there as well. But you get the general idea, right? So we have different types of materials that are used. We have different things like equipment and MROs all being used by the firm, but by businesses. And so again, this is an example of how we can characterize products and how products can be formed in a typology, which then help us, generally speaking, what this is doing is helping us organize our competitors and organize our markets when we start thinking about this. Also extend this a little bit and think about how augmented products and core products and the product layer process and these typologies help you if you're going to engage in a product development strategy. A product development growth strategy suggests that you're going to do something different from a product perspective, and so this might give you ideas on how you can expand and areas that you can expand in, which you don't currently have a presence in. Okay, so anyways, reach out to me. Let me know if you have any questions, and thank you for spending time and listening to this audio recording.